All right, here we go, folks. We are going to talk about leadership. I've outlined some topics that I'll just throw out there that were top of mind for me, and I have sort of some subtopics under each of them, but we want this to be interactive. We want this to be helpful for you guys, so throw your questions in there. I think I would like to try to keep this relatively focused to the current times and how leaders are navigating it, but I think I'm happy to go off that as well. But I think most people joined here for the state of sales, right? So anyway, I outlined a few topics. One is remote leadership. One is a tough topic that no one probably wants to talk about, navigating layoffs. Another is allocating resources. And then I have sales strategy. And then I have cross-departmental best practices. And so we can kick it off with remote leadership. I put a few points in here, and we kind of touched on a little bit of it before. And there's also another session right now going on about remote, so I don't want to be too redundant there. But I had some sub-bullets in here. I'll throw them out there. Keep chatting away, letting us know what sounds interesting to you. KD, feel free to chime in. But I put down a few that were top of mind for me, and we touched on it before, which is trusting your team and not micromanaging. Brian hit it, pretty well, that I think most of us went into this nervous about, everyone's working from home. And as I was thinking more about that after we moved off that topic before, I realized that I think Ashley kicked this thought into my head that we used to think of like, oh, I'm working from home as like, oh, he doesn't feel good, he's hungover, he's going to probably have a shitty day. And like, because that's probably what the reality of once in a while working from home was like. But the difference now is we're working from home full time. And I think I think the reps, the SDRs, the AEs, at least on my team, it was a very different mindset, right? Because this wasn't just like a chillax day at home. This is a new way of living. And we had to get into a routine and we had to do it fast, and people wanted to make their money. And so are they maybe sleeping in? Are they maybe taking a nap during the day? Sure, right? People are living, I think, their lives in a way that's best for them, but they're holding themselves accountable because they know that this isn't just a one day where you can slack and tomorrow you'll be in the office and pick it up, right? So for me, that was kind of what I noticed. We were lucky at Aircall to have really no issues with that. But KD, I'm curious where your head's at with that.
Yeah, I think I was actually on the opposite end of the spectrum a little bit. Like, working remote for my team was no different, right? So like, if you wanted to work remote, you worked remote. Like, it wasn't like, hey, I'm just going to be remote today. Like, the expectations were what they were, right?
Did you let people do that like multiple days, like whenever they want? That was just commonplace?
Not whenever, no. But we, like, leading up to this, we had done multiple like work from home as a team, reward with work from home. Like, we'd done actually quite a bit. And it was after we'd gotten kind of the processes and culture in place that we wanted. And so my biggest thing with working from home wasn't if people would do their job. It's actually, could I continue to make them better at their job? That's been the biggest difference. Productivity, we saw no reduction. In fact, we actually saw a little bit of lift, right? Because there's less distractions. Like, people, it was actually funny. People were like, what do I do? Like, holy shit, my dials are done already. My emails are done. There's none of that like drop in interruptions. So it was more so, can we make them better? And that's where, like, going through this now, and then I know Tuso has a fully remote team. I think the balance is going to be a split, right? Like, once this all clears, I'd be willing to bet my team is remote at least 2 days a week. And I don't think there's any problem with that. But I would put a team that is in office 70%, out of office 30%, up against a team that's 100% remote any day. Because I feel like we make improvements more when we're together. That's the shift, right? Trust, like, I trusted my squad, and they ran up and they did what they're supposed to do.
That's a great point. So the topic's obviously been flying around for us at Aircall, and I know it's all over LinkedIn of, is this going to change the way we work forever, right? Are people going to allow more work from home? And I think, for us, I think I could certainly see a world where, I don't know, maybe 2 days a week we're always remote.
Yeah.
But what I did say, and I'm with you 100%, because I don't have an answer to, if we were fully remote, how the hell are you bringing a new hire class? Like, you can't do that as effectively. You can't, I don't think, help. Of course you can do it, right? But not anywhere near as well as bringing in a group of 10 new hires into the classroom every day, out there sitting next to them on the floor. Like, could you see a world where you could do that remotely?
So it's you said it perfectly. Can do and can do as well. Mm-hmm. Can you do it? Yes. I mean, Tuso showed it. They've scaled out their team fully remote. Now, what's important to know, though, he did start with the team together as they built the processes and then went fully remote. But
yeah, they had a WeWork, I think, right?
They did. But I don't think ever, like, put you in a classroom with 10 people, me in a classroom with 10 people, or put us on Zoom with 10 people. Yeah. We're going to get more being there. Right?
Yeah.
So like in my ideal world, and I've talked about this, I would love to fly people in for a month. You are in a boot camp for a month. Like, you are cranking for a month. Then I let you go. Right.
And I think that's what Tito at Alti Sales does.
A little bit.
Because he's got a fully remote team. But I think that's probably the answer, is you have to come out for on-site training at least 4 weeks, right? Like boot camp, just like you said it. Then I can see that working, because I don't think, like, it's not even just the tactical skills, right? It's like learning the culture and just feeling the vibe in the office. I think it would not be the same. And I would argue that, like, and I don't know how big Chili Piper's team is. I don't think they're massive, but like, if you're scaling really fast, like Patient Prop grew from how many people over like a couple, went from like 0 to hundreds really quickly. Like, I can't imagine doing that over Zoom. If you're hiring maybe a couple new AEs every year, you could probably pull it off. But rapid scale, I don't think so.
It's your first point, I think, is what's so important to anyone listening. By no means are we saying you can't do it. It can be done. But if you wanted to go head to head, if we were selling the same thing and you were in office and I was remote, I think you would beat me. If you and I had the same skill set as a leader, but you were in the room with your people 70% of the time, I think you win. I do. Like, that's what's been great to experience it, going from 99% in office, right? Like, we dabbled, we did out of office, to 100% remote. Now I kind of have a feel of like, okay, I think the balance is what wins best here. I really do.
Agreed. And it's cool that you guys were doing it beforehand. I was always honestly just against it, and I've been very proven wrong, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. So it will change the way I think about it for going forward. I'm curious to see, Carly, I know we've got you in here helping to moderate. Is there anyone in the group who wants to chime in on this topic, and we can play around with adding you in on the video? I'm not quite sure how we know if you're interested. Yeah, all right, let's do a video question. If they want to chime on this topic or ask something else, yeah, let's do a video question.
First off, that was brilliant. Your conversation between, and this is what I've told every single person throughout that networking thing, your conversation with Belal was amazing. I just finished this book, Atomic Habits. Have you read it? Oh, it's phenomenal. Where the primary concept was systems, not goals, because systems are replicable, goals are not. And I've never heard anyone bring up what you mentioned, where it's culture. The culture shines through when a team, the team actively is doing what they're supposed to be doing and hit the brick wall. And that's when culture comes through, is how does management and how do team leaders react? So thank you for that.
Caitlin, can you give us a quick introduction, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, for sure. Caitlin Ludwig, I manage the outbound sales team here at Docebo. I'm actually on the East Coast. So
what's the company? Sorry.
West Coast for life.
Docebo. Looks like Docebo. We're a learning management system.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I yes, I've been hearing this name come up. I think we're talking to you guys about something. You might be an opportunity for us.
No.
I've seen it. I've seen the name, or you're a customer, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyhow, what's on your mind?
So right now, currently, I'm actually in that predicament of, can you do it or can you do it well? Before COVID-19, I was in a really good place where I actually promoted 80% of my outbound team. So really great success. And then essentially right now, I now have a team of then 80% brand new, fresh ramping, outbound BDRs, 95% of them straight out of college. So
how many people is that? What's the size?
So I actually promoted over the last 6 months, I promoted 20 of my SDRs.
To an AE role?
To either AE, AM, and BDR.
And so now you have how many new folks?
We now have a team of about 22, and I would say 95% of them are in the organization. Hired them in January, fully ramped. We ramped for 1 month. And then they're not even, not fully ramped. We completely onboard, no quota for 1 whole month. And then they ramp essentially for 6 months. So basically 95% of my team right now is ramping. Majority.
So let me ask you, because that was the one thing I was so grateful for coming into this, is I said to Brian, I said, thank God we didn't just hire a group of people right before this. How are you reacting to it? What are you struggling with, and how can we help?
Yeah. So I've never been a micromanager, or I've never been pegged as that. So hopefully I'm not. But it's this pressure from the business where our quota hasn't changed. Our goals haven't changed. Like you guys were seeing, I don't think our business right now is in the place to redefine winning. I'm a manager way higher above my pay grade to try and, push back immensely on that. But how do I continue to talk activity with these reps that have gone from this college lifestyle of, hey, and we're also too, we're in Athens, Georgia. So a lot of these kids are still in Athens, where the University of Georgia is, kind of that college mindset, to talking activity, but not becoming that micromanager. Like I'm curious to hear how to continue for them to build trust in me, but how I can gain their trust with them being so new.
So I'll tell you what I would do, and then I want to hear from KD too. As I'm thinking through this, I'm coming up with what I would do, because I'm not in that situation, but this is my style, right? I think you're in a tough spot and they're in a tough spot, and you have to, that's the elephant in the room, and you have to confront it head on. And so the very first thing that I would do is have a full team meeting where you give them some real straight talk, and you tell them, we are in the shittiest situation that we could possibly be in. I am, as your leader, I wasn't prepared for this, and you didn't sign up for this. But here's where we are. Here's what we have to accomplish. We need to be able to figure out how to make you guys successful, right? And the model that I had before was to handhold you, was to give you the 6 months to teach you all of the things that I could in person. But today, I'm not going to be able to be in the office with you, right? You guys are going to be out on your own, and you're going to sink or swim. And I know that sounds harsh, but it is, the world is smacking us in the face right now. And we all have to be on board with that. And a lot more, you're going to have to push yourselves and hold yourselves accountable at a level that you may not have had to in the office. And it's not fair. It's not going to be easy, because you're coming straight out of school, and it normally takes 6 to 12 months for someone to get used to the office life, get used to having a full-time job. But we don't have that luxury right now. And it's going to take a lot for you guys to survive. And I'm going to be here to give you everything that I possibly can. But at the end of the day, we still have a job to do. And I think, long story short there, you have to just, if you address the struggles head on, it eliminates the areas for them to complain about them later, because you're just laying it out there that there is nothing we can do about it, right? If you don't address that, I think you will lead down a road of people not doing what you were expecting of them, and they just start making excuses for that they're set up for failure, they're in this and that. Like, yeah, you are, right? You are set up in a really shitty situation right now. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm going to do everything that I can, but we have to hold ourselves accountable. And that's the only way that you're going to be successful, or that I'm going to be successful. And So we need to focus the dialogue on how we get there, not on all of the reasons that things just got unfair. Curious what you think, Katie.
So Caitlin, what's the real question there? Is it how to get them to do their activity, or how to not come across? What's the question?
I think that's a great question. I think it's a mixture of both.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have those reps that immediately from the gate, you can tell, you know, they take complete ownership. They're asking questions, they're asking for call coaching, they're taking complete control of their professional development. And then you have the ones that, you know, I'm questioning, hey, it's 11 a.m. All I have right now is a dashboard on outreach. What is going on? You haven't made a call. You haven't added in a prospect. You haven't added in an email. What's going on? And, you know, getting some pushback where I don't want to come across as a micromanager, but it's also too, it's like, okay, but at least if I can go to my director and say, hey, let me show you leading indicators. At least I can show my management team, you're doing the activity, you're doing the bare minimum, you're having the conversations. Let's celebrate these wins, like these leading indicators. But again, I don't want to come across as that micromanager because that's never been my style.
Okay, I got you. So a few things. This is one, why expectation setting is so important early on, right? Like you and any rep that's listening right now, I don't know if we have a lot of reps, there's a lot of readers. You earn micromanagement. The only people that get micromanaged are the ones that don't meet expectations. You can't micromanage an overperformer. Like
Sure.
You literally can't micromanage an overperformer. So if someone's getting micromanaged, just making sure they understand they earned it. They earned it. They earned micromanagement because they weren't meeting expectations. But the flip side of it, like if expectations are set, and Collin touched on it right at the end there, is in these tough times, it's you committing to them what you're going to do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I'm asking of you, but here's what I'm going to give. Every morning, 7 a.m., we're going to be on a call, and we're going to do rapid fire objection handling. And every day from 9 to 10, I'm going to be on your calls live, giving you live feedback on what you can do better. And every day at 1 o'clock, we're going to have a call off. Who has the best, like you have to give more to. So that's where it comes from. Is one, they know they're only being micromanaged because they earned it.
Mm-hmm.
Two, if they're not going to meet those expectations, you can address that as just performance. But then what are you giving? So you earn that. You said you're afraid, and I can hear it. There's a fear of being micromanaged. It's okay when they know you're coming from a place of care. I would put it that way. If you're giving and they're not, that fear is unfounded, and you're doing what you're supposed to do as a leader.
I'll add one thing to that, Caitlin, and then we'll jump to the next question. You mentioned that some of the team, they're very autonomous and they'll take it upon themselves to figure things out, and you sort of bucketed them into two areas. I would maybe make two separate plans and give two separate options to the team. And I would say, if you guys think you got it and you want to be, in control of your own destiny and you know what to do, then that's fine. I'm going to give you all the freedom that you want. If not, if you guys feel like you need more attention from me, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put together schedule blocks of exactly what I would be doing in your shoes from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., from 11 to whatever. Schedule out the day, exactly how many activities of each you think you need, and have quick 5-minute huddles in between each of those blocks to catch up with the whole team and just keep them on that schedule, right? And that's very much what I do in the beginning, because we always say don't micromanage, but like truth is I micromanage the shit out of people for their first month when they're straight out of school, because you're forming the habits, right? And then you become hands off when they have proved they can do it, or I shouldn't even say prove they could do it, when they've learned, right? That's how it works. And so I think if you create that very detailed, rigid schedule for them, break down the day, exactly what you should be doing through different hours of the day, exactly what's expected to happen then, and be willing to be as hands-on with that as possible, but also be willing for the people who say, I want to manage my own schedule. You want to take that control, that's fine. Go for it. But if you're underperforming, I'm going to push you back into this schedule.
And Caitlin, I want to give you this real quick. Were you a sports fan at all?
Oh, for sure.
What's your sport?
The Falcons.
The Falcons? Okay. Do you think the head coach of the Falcons ever wakes up and is like, I don't want to be a micromanager?
No. You're right.
Do you think that fear is there ever?
No.
Right. So take that, right? Like the greats don't fear micromanagement. What they fear is mediocrity, right? There's right ways to do it. There's wrong ways to do it. But don't wake up with that fear of being a micromanager. You expect greatness, and what you define is what's going to get them to greatness. You don't have to lower your standards for someone else, let alone a new SDR coming in. Like, no, you know the standards, make them meet that. Don't lower yours for them.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Here.
Kaylin, thank you so much. We'll jump to the next question.
But I think as we're waiting, guys, that's why it's so important. Collin mentioned it. I did as well. Setting a standard.
Yeah.
Important. This is where I think people get off is like every great organization ever, especially sports, military, whatever, they had a system and a process that they followed. It wasn't willy-nilly. It wasn't up to the individual contributor to build that. That's the job of the leader to designate the process, culture, and system to achieve. If you have a team of 15 and you're relying on all 15 to create the right culture behaviors.
No, and they don't want that either. Especially coming straight out of school, they want to be told exactly what to do. And then maybe they get great and they want to figure it out on their own.
Say that again, Collin.
I meant to add that in for Caitlin. I hope you're still listening. They want it, right? I'm telling you, someone fresh out of school needs and wants to be micromanaged. That term has a bad stigma, but they need it. They want it. When they don't want it is when they become great and they can make your system even better for themselves. And that's when you start to back off.
One of my mentors, Dave Brock, he wrote the Sales Manager Survival Guide. Do I have it in here? Of course I have it in here. Okay. Like any of my leaders out there, go read this Sales Manager Survival Guide. But I talked to him about it. I asked him, what's the difference between micromanagement and accountability? And he slapped me across the face. He goes, the only thing that's different is who benefits. It's micromanagement if only the leader benefits. It's accountability if the rep benefits. And I was like, that's how you look at it. If you're only micromanaging because you want to talk about dials, like, yeah, that's micromanagement. The rep doesn't benefit. But if the rep benefits, that's accountability. That's not micromanagement.
I wanted to pick your brain on this, KD, because I think from a leadership angle, I mean, I'm friggin' grateful I haven't had to deal with it, but you guys had to do some layoffs, and you were very public about it, which I thought was really good and interesting, because I don't know what I would have done really. And I imagine you guys talked about how you were going to handle that, and was it going to be some, thing that just happened and no one talks about, but you got ahead of it, you got out there, everyone was posting about it. And I thought it was brilliant. Right. And you controlled the dialogue about it, but anything you want to share on what that experience was like?
I mean,
I know it was awful, but I mean, in terms of planning it and strategizing it and executing it from a leadership standpoint.
So everything that you saw come from me it was me being Kevin. It was me being Kevin Dorsey. Like, it wasn't planned. There was no strategy. What people may not or may have noticed, I don't know, is I didn't post to LinkedIn for 3 weeks. Right? Like, as a thought leader, as whatever, I didn't touch LinkedIn because I was 100% fighting for my team. I was fighting. How can we get through this? What can we do? How do we strategize? I had no brain power left for anything else, and I thought it was fake if I was doing anything other than being there for my team. And they fought to the end, man. They fought.
When you say fighting, is this like you're battling your CFO? Is this you're trying to think creatively? How do we just make it work?
It's the internal fighting. It's the external fighting. It's fighting ourselves of like, how do we figure this out? It's all of that. And it didn't work. I couldn't figure it out. And So when it all happened, the only thing I could think of was like, all right, and it is what it is. Like, how can I leverage what I have built to help them?
Yeah.
Right. That's all. Like, I put it out there, not for fucking me. Like, my feelings are fucking whatever. Like, no one cares if I'm fucking crying. I got a job still.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
reaching out, the network of LinkedIn, they came through from my outreach and from building a brand or whatever else. I was able to build a list of over 80 companies that were like, yes, have your people reach out to me. 80 within LA and remote jobs. I built the other list of all the other ones remote across. And then talk about brand building. You're building the right brand when people want to work with your people because they worked with you.
Yeah.
And so when people were reaching out going, I will take anyone you trained. That's
powerful.
A moment. I get goosebumps. I'm still holding back the emotion still a little bit of like, that's when it's like, you know what? Okay, right? Half of the people have already found things, and the other half are within talks of people. I talked with Carolyn Betts up in San Francisco. She had her recruiters working with my people. Like, it was awful, and I hope I never have to go through it again. But I feel like I did what I could to help before and after. They were trained well, coached well. That makes them more attractive to the market.
Yeah.
And I'm writing fucking references. I'm on the call with anybody. I told them straight up. I texted every single one of them. You tell me what company you're applying, and I will hit up that VP directly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it, Kevin. I've never been in that situation of having to fire someone that didn't deserve to be fired, and I dread the moment, but I feel at least a little more prepared after seeing how you guys handled it. We have Martuza, my boy.
Yeah, hi guys.
Been chatting quite a bit on LinkedIn. How's it going, man?
Correct. Yes, man. So thank you. First of all, thank you very much, all of you, man. This is an amazing job. Your team and Kevin Dorsey and other speakers as well. This is just insane. I love this show and I love this event, right? So I got one specific question for you both, Collin and Kevin. Do you think online stuff, online events, online, all kind of a meeting or conferencing, your team managers, everything, right, is going to stay after the COVID-19, or it just only for a few months and we'll be back to normal office work and we will meet the client the way we were meeting earlier?
Yeah, I think we touched on it a bit before. I think I think a lot of it stays. I think that normal work as we know it has changed forever. Online events, interesting, man. I actually think, and I think Kevin, you might have said this, that it's going to be weird going back to trade shows. I think for me personally, I hate those events anyway. Like I really like, it's just so much work. They're so expensive. The only one who really, really, really benefits is usually the organizer. And I like the idea of this online thing. I think everyone in this, I would bet, is getting more value from this probably than going to an event in person. And it costs nothing to attend, and anyone from around the world can attend. But Kev,
I'm Collin. We didn't get to touch on this the other one. The reason why it's going to change, and I'm sorry, I forgot how to pronounce your name the right. I think it was
Martuza. I think, yeah,
is because do you think the buyers are going to want to go back to live events? Right? No one talked about this part. We're talking to salespeople.
Yeah, that's a great point.
The buyers are going to want to, like, and some of them might. This is what's interesting. We don't get to pick this.
Yeah.
Do you think the buyer wants to fly to Vegas for a weekend for an event?
I'll tell you, Kev, you guys, I imagine, do a lot of trade shows, right? We did over 70 a year at doctor.com, and trade shows for healthcare is very different, by the way, than any other vertical. It's interesting that you just said the buyers, because I forgot buyers even go to trade shows. So I'll tell you what, when we go for Aircall, nobody's signing contracts. But when we went to sell to doctors, we were coming home with 100K after 2 days every weekend.
Easy.
Yeah.
This is the classic. We don't get to choose where sales goes. If the buyers love that they can fly to Vegas and be ridiculous for 3 days because they're at a trade show, then guess what?
Yep.
Trade shows will still be a thing. But if the buyers are tired of spending $3,000 on travel, $2,000 on hotel just to supposedly learn something, it'll never come back.
Yeah.
So if things like this work for the buyer, this will be it. But there's not a lot of the buyer seminars online aren't doing that well. Like, we aren't selling anything.
Because come on, when we're selling to doctors, you're pulling them in. You're not letting go of their hand. You're forcing them to listen to you until they realize that they need to buy something. But the healthcare industry is different, right? Because half the time they have to go to those events for their certification or for something. And we saw always this trend where sometimes when those certifications that the dentist had to once travel to go get, all of a sudden they could get that online. That trade show the next year was awful. And it could have been the best show the year before. And so exactly to your point, right? Will the buyers go there? And in healthcare specifically, they're not usually going there to buy shit. They're going there, because I think they like to get away for a weekend and party and whatever. I think doctors have a good time on those trips, but also they go there because they have to sometimes.
Well, that's what will be interesting though. Like, if you look at the sales industry, the Rainmakers, Rep 2020s, the SaaSters, the what's Outreach, Unleash, AAISP, the whole premise of those was education, getting access to people like you and people like me sharing things live that don't normally get shared.
Kev, we've got 1 minute left. I want to try to hit on this topic really fast because it kind of piggybacks off of the layoffs. Reallocation of resources, right? In order to avoid layoffs. We have an initiative we're doing at Aircall, which is not really an avoidance of layoffs, but it could be used this way. But we have certain roles that their functions are just not as critical now that we're remote. Office managers, things like that. We've got this initiative called One Team, where we're taking people out of their roles and letting them work with other things. We're up on time, but do you have a quick thought on that? Or did you guys do any of that?
That was part of the fight, right? Of like, where could I put people? I had SDRs working with support. I had AEs working with CS, right? Like, I was looking everywhere to put people out. Like, look internally first, because you said it in the first session of net churn being like the primary. We'll put more resources towards it. Right? Put some AEs in there that know how to sell and maybe get some upsells you wouldn't get before. Put SDRs on support so the response time isn't 24 hours, it's 2 hours, and you can handle it. Like, I 100% believe that there can be reallocation. There's some roles that you can't save. And it sucks for me to say that out loud, but if things aren't good, they're not good. But you can reallocate first, and that was the most important part.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, guys, we're wrapping it up. We're going to go back to the stage. I guess a quick recap that we learned: best practices for navigating the worst thing that a leader could ever have to do. I forget all the things how to handle onboarding new folks during a remote time, which is definitely not easy. And I forget everything else we talked about. But anyway, let's we got to go back to the stage. Kevin,
real fast. Hit us up directly afterwards. Hit us up on LinkedIn, whatever. If you don't get your question answered, hit us up. We'll answer it. Like, I know this went fast, but like, these are important topics and we're happy to contribute.
Thanks, everyone.
Later, y'all.